Here's a question nobody asks you during divorce. What happens if your ex dies tomorrow, or loses their job, or declares bankruptcy? I'm not talking about grief. I'm talking about the child support check that was supposed to arrive on the first of the month. For millions of divorced parents, there is no backup plan. Nobody insured against this until now. My guest today spent 35 years as an he spent 35 years in the insurance industry, and then he became a foster parent and saw what happens to families when the payments stop. This conversation is about the safety net you didn't know you needed. Welcome back. Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Divorcing Strong podcast. I'm Becky Sampson, your host, and I have to say I'm very, very excited about this episode, and the reason being is because there's nothing else out there like this. Just like the intro that I talked about, or that little intro that I did, is that, you know, I have often told people all the time that they're going through divorce. I'm like, okay, so you're relying on a payment, but what happens if they decide not to start paying that? Or if something happens to them, or they declare bankruptcy, or say that they don't have any income anymore? What are you going to do about that? And I'm very, very excited to bring to you our guest today because he's kind of forged ahead and created something to be able to help people through that process. So today, our guest is Ron Platt. He wasn't supposed to disrupt the divorce industry. He spent 3 decades in insurance and real estate, understanding risk, underwriting products, building companies. Then he became a foster parent and watched what happens to families when the financial floor drops out. He saw that nobody, not the courts, not the government, not a single insurance carrier, had built a safety net for the moment child support or alimony stopped arriving. So he built one. Support Insured is the first and only divorce insurance product on the market, a policy that guarantees child support and alimony payments for up to the full year if your payer dies, becomes disabled, loses their job involuntarily, or declares personal bankruptcy. And this product sits inside something bigger. NASDF, a first of its kind membership organization offering an umbrella of products, services, and resources to single and divorced families nationwide. So welcome to the show, Ron.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
I love this. And I can't remember totally how we got connected, but you had reached out to me and we connected a few weeks ago. And I was like,
Yep.
Okay, you definitely need to come on the podcast because I'm all about giving people opportunities to resources that are out there, because oftentimes we don't think about some of this stuff.
Correct.
When we're going through it. So kind of before we dive right into all of that stuff, tell us the backstory of what got you into this industry and what makes you so passionate about serving this sector of people going through divorce.
So the business side of it started when I was working with my dad in the insurance industry, and we were doing product development. So people would come to us for odd things like hole-in-one insurance or Keno games that they wanted insured, or I'm going to date myself, but cell phone warranties. I remember getting a call from somebody in Asia saying, I want to insure these cell phones. I'm like, who would want to do that? There's still these big blocks, if you remember.
Yeah.
But we got it done, and I'd always scratch my head and think, who do I know? But we were Lloyd's brokers at the time, so we did most of these products through Lloyd's. And my dad was an idea man. He came in every day with a different idea. He'd say, hey, have you ever thought of? And I'd be like, no, okay, Dad, go back to your office.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur. He's like a
exactly.
That's
just when I thought I came up with a solution, he'd come up with another idea, and I'd be like, no, we can't add that. I have to go back. No, we're not going to do that. So at lunch one day, he says to me, I've always wanted to insure child support and alimony payments if the payer died, became disabled, involuntarily lost their job, or had to declare a business bankruptcy. And I thought, now that's a good one. And I said, well, we have an association that we could move over to transition to help people who are getting a divorce or have single families and provide product, services, support, and resources. He goes, that's brilliant. And I thought, well, there's got to be somebody doing this already. So he went back to his office and I went back to mine, and we looked, and no, but that was 30 years ago. We're talking 26 million people were not getting anything that they could use when they're in their process of getting a divorce or transition to a single family. So he tried placing the insurance product through Lloyd's, through credit insurance companies, because our policy is very similar to a credit insurance type coverage. And everybody said no. And my dad's like a pit bull with a tire. He just won't let go. And he kept going and going and going. And I kid that on his deathbed, I was shaking him going, who else do I need to call? But he just couldn't get it done. And he did not want to start the association until the insurance product was put together. So we kind of tabled it, but it's always been a passion of mine. And one of the reasons why it was a passion is because I've not only went through what I call the undivorce, I went through a 14-year relationship breakup where we both had to hire attorneys, where we had to disperse of the assets and sell the house. And because of the attorneys going back and forth, there was basically nothing left.
Right.
Oh, by the way, it was during the Great Recession when as a realtor, I was not making any money. So now I didn't have the money. I had to pay an attorney. We had bills coming in. I was with an ex that was intentionally trying to make the bills as expensive as possible so it could cause as much pain. So having gone through that and realizing there was no resources for the LGBTQ community or people that were living with somebody and then had to separate and found themselves with nothing in their pockets. I had a good friend of mine who was my business partner at one point where she had to leave her abusive husband through a doggy door with her baby under her arm because he had locked the doors throughout the house and she snuck out in the middle of the night. And I watched her go to court for 10 years fighting him for custody. Now, he was very wealthy and she's a struggling mother. And I would go to court sometimes to support her. And I would see that the judges never decided. It was always another psychological evaluation, or they would get to court and it'd be a different judge, or they transition to another court. It was
it's a racket.
It was horrible. It not only until the child turned 16 when he came to pick her up and she called the police and said, I don't want to go with him. And that's the point that it stopped, but not because the courts did it.
Right.
I have a male police officer friend of mine who was trying to take his kids away from an abusive mother. And the courts, because he was a police officer and because he was male, it was very difficult for him to do it.
Yeah.
And I saw that the courts are not catering to men as well. It's a screwed up system. Then I became a foster parent to a 13-year-old LGBTQ young man. And he had been through the system since the age of 9, and he had been physically and verbally abused because of his sexuality, because of who he was. Now I get him, of course, there's a huge trust issue, and I'm trying to build that trust, and I start wanting him to get psychological help, mental help. And he came home after about 4 times and said, Dad, I can't keep going to a different person every week. And I'd be like, What are you talking about? He's like, it's a different therapist every week. And the social worker said, we just can't keep him on, but she wasn't letting me know. And then I would sit with some of his other friends that were foster kids, and I would hear their stories, or I would take him to school and he'd point out all the homeless kids on the streets that they had decided to be homeless versus being in a foster home because of the abuse. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
And what I realized is that nobody's really talking about these kids. The ad litems are trying their best, but the courts aren't listening. So they're not only not listening to what the kids' needs are, where sometimes being in a foster home is better than being with your family, but their goal is to get you back with the family, regardless of what's best for the child.
Reunification.
Exactly. Or the fact that the bright parent might not be getting custody because the system is screwed up. How do I create an organization where my voice isn't a single voice, but a massive voice? So I use the example of AARP all the time because 2 reasons. One, we set up our company the same way they have it. And they advocate for Social Security, Medicare, and elder fraud. And they have 38 million members. And we thought, well, Congress doesn't make a change to Social Security unless they talk to AARP. You don't want 38 million constituents yelling and screaming because you changed Social Security. Right. I want to have that voice for foster care, family court reform, and the prevention of intergenerational poverty. and I can't do it alone. But if I had, God willing, 38 million members someday, I can advocate and I can lobby for these changes to occur. So that's kind of how it came together.
You know what? And I appreciate the fact, first of all, anytime someone uses the word advocacy, it's like I will perk up because I know that it's a fight. I mean, the
Yeah.
court system can be really, really difficult. And I've experienced it myself with 21 hearings, mostly
Wow.
representing myself
Yeah.
through my divorce, and then another case as well that we're dealing with right now. But I have to say that it feels like a fight, but when you use the word advocacy, it's like, okay, that's a different energy. It's just like, look, all you're doing is defending your own rights,
Yep.
and you're helping other people know what their rights are and helping them defend their rights as well.
Yep.
And I love this idea that you had, and it sounds like it's been around for a long time. Your dad started it. Now you're like, you know what, I'm going to take it. But tell everybody kind of one of the things that that you have is that what are the four scenarios? I want you to kind of go over what are the four scenarios. Like people are saying, well, what would I need this insurance for?
Sure.
I mean, why would I invest in the insurance? Because it's an investment into the insurance because of what scenarios?
So currently, when you get a divorce, most divorces have a life insurance policy attached to it, which is great because it's not great if the guy dies or the woman dies, but whoever the payer is, if they pass, then typically that life insurance policy is going to cover the child's support payments for until the child is 18 or 21 years old.
Right.
And sometimes it'll even pay for their college education. That's great. But what if the payer suddenly becomes disabled? They were working on the house over the weekend, fell off the roof, and now they can't work for 6 months because they broke both their legs. Or what if suddenly AI is huge right now and it's eliminating a lot of jobs? What if you have this really secure job and your boss walks in and says, hey, you've been replaced by AI, we have to let you go? That's called involuntary unemployment. It's not where you were fired, but it's where you had to be let go because you were downsized. What happens in that scenario? Or the fourth thing being, of course, what if you are an entrepreneur and let's say you own a restaurant and the economy changes and your clients stop coming and you have to close and declare business bankruptcy? You still have to make those child support and alimony payments. Now, the current option is that you could rehire your attorney who would go to court and say, my client just doesn't have the money right now. We have to do a temporary relief, which is fine. But what about the person receiving the money? Like they're counting on that child support and alimony payments. Now they have to say, well, there's no money coming in. What do I do? Or the person who's receiving it would go back to court and try to force this person to pay. But if there's no money, there's no money. Right. So our insurance policy comes into play and says, we will cover those payments for up to a year. If the person that is paying dies, becomes disabled, involuntarily loses their job, or has to declare business bankruptcy, you don't have to worry. We're going to go ahead and cover it.
Okay, so let me the thing that comes to my mind is it's not if they voluntarily leave their position. Because sometimes that is something they intentionally do. Right. Right. So it doesn't cover that. But
we call those deadbeat parents typically, which is not a great term, but it's true. The state, if that happens where you quit your job or you decide you don't want to pay, we don't pay for that. You know, that the state and the federal government does a pretty good job at going after you for that, whether it's through your tax returns or other means, or your wages being garnished.
Yep.
We don't do that.
Garnishment. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's a clarification. But what would you say is like at the very beginning? Is this something that they should consider at the very beginning, or when they're just finalizing things in their divorce?
It should be part of your divorce decree, but you can't purchase the insurance until you know what the final amount is that you're receiving. Okay. Because the premium's based off of your age and the amount that the court has mandated for the payments. Now, somebody came to me the other day and said, I'm getting $2,500 a month. Can I purchase $5,000? I said, you absolutely can, but I'm only going to pay you $2,500. Yeah. The other part, we consider a donation. Don't do that. If you're receiving $2,500, only buy $2,500 worth of insurance. And to give you a rough idea, and I'm not looking at the rates at the moment, but if you're, say, 42 years old and you're getting $2,500 a month, I think the premium's around $585 for the year. So it's really not that much at all. Yeah. And then it does come with a discounted year membership to NASDF, so you get all the additional benefits with that as well. And it does renew every year until you tell us that you're no longer receiving it.
Okay, so that's another question I was going to ask you is how long is the term on that, and is it considered term insurance?
It is not considered term insurance.
Okay,
It is
or
its own
disability?
classification, really. It's considered divorce insurance. It does have a life element to it, but it's not long-term life. It's short-term life, and it's not term insurance. It's just for a year's worth.
Okay,
So the policy automatically renews every year. If it does not renew, then we reach out to the attorneys to let them know that the person who's paying did not renew it.
okay,
And the best part is that either party can purchase it. So if you're trying to negotiate it, that the payer is the one responsible, and the payer says, "No, I'm not doing it," you as the payee can take it out on behalf of the payer, as long as you can answer certain simple questions like, have they ever been sick? Have they been employed longer than 6 months? Are they expected to be released from their job or whatever? It's pretty simple questions that you should know if you've been with that person for a decent amount of time. And as long as you answer those questions, you can apply online, and credit card information is taken online, and you receive an immediate policy as well.
so how long has this been in effect, this type of insurance?
We've actually had it. We contracted with the insurer about 8 months ago. It took us about 4 or 5 months to get the software together so that we can make it as streamlined as possible. And that all you have to do is go to our website, nasdf.org, and you're going to see a tab there called Support Insured. And if you click on that, there's an information button with a ton of questions and answers. The premium is on there, the application's on there, everything is on there that you need. So we wanted to make it as simple as possible for you to apply and to understand what it is.
So when you're dealing, so the thought that or the question that just came to my mind is that you're saying that either party can be the one that buys the policy. Do you find that it's more, um, well, who do you find, I should say, who do you find is the one that's more responsible for that policy? I mean, if I was getting divorced, I don't know if I would want my divorcee, right, to be the one that's paying the premium, and for me to follow up with that and make sure it's being done correctly. I'd rather be the one in control of that.
Well,
But
the payer is usually the one that purchases it because the other attorney is forcing them to do it. However, if it is canceled or they do not renew it, all the attorneys are notified, because one of the questions on the application is, who is the attorney? So that if it does cancel, we can notify the attorney that the policy has been canceled.
oh, fabulous.
Yeah,
So and it also is their responsibility is that once it is satisfied, right? If that order is complete, it's
yeah,
satisfied, it's their job to cancel it.
that is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, well, first of all, what a great service to be able to provide. I mean, there's so many uncertainties when you're going through divorce, and to know that there is a way for you to be able to provide, at least for the first year, that gives them a year of breathing room
Yep.
in that. So could it be temporary too? You don't have to be the full year, right? If they end up getting a job within that and it resumes those payments, do they just
That's
cancel the
correct. We
policy?
will stop. We'll
Okay.
call them every 30 days before we send out the check to say, are you currently employed? Are you still on disability? And if they lie, of course, we have ways of checking. We're hoping they don't lie, but obviously, we will be checking every time that we write a check for the child support and alimony payments.
Yeah. And what actually happens to a family when I mean, have you seen, I guess, is it mostly the women that take it out or the men? The women?
If it's the women requesting it from the payer, so
Yeah.
it's hard to say, because these days it's almost a 50-50. A lot of times these women are supporting the men sometimes. So the men, I know the last two ones we had, it was actually a woman that was purchasing it because she was paying the male the child support and alimony. So I can't really tell you if it's more one way or the other. I just
Yeah.
know that the person who is paying is usually the person that is purchasing the policy.
Right. Right. Okay. And then why do you think the insurance industry refused to build this product before now?
Yeah, that's a great question. We found that as time has gone, again, I've been at this for 30. Well, I've been in real estate for 24. I was in insurance for 16, and I've never really left the insurance, but I've spent more of my time in real estate the last 24 years. What I've seen in that period of time is insurance companies want to take themselves out of the risk business, and that's kind of the business that they're in. So I think it's a lot of what's going on in our civilization right now is everybody wants to be in the box.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you try to think outside the box, 100,000 people are going to tell you not to do it. But when they
Mm-hmm.
finally do it, that's the next billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
So, you think software, everybody these days wants to invest in crypto, pharma, apps, or AI, right? And now comes somebody who says, hey, I'm looking for an investor to invest in something that is an insurance product and also our association, which helps society get back on their feet. And it is a billion-dollar business, but it is something that is brand new to market. And people are like, I don't even want to learn what it is.
Right.
And you say to them that the numbers, we've got 26 million people currently divorced or single families and 2 million getting divorced every year. And oh, by the way, some of those people are not even getting married, but they're still having children.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then separating. So there's the non-divorced individuals as well that are going to require these benefits. The market is huge. And they're like, yeah, but it's not a farm. It's not an app. It's not a crypto. So I'm not interested. That's kind of how the insurance industry looks at things a lot of times too. If it doesn't fit any of our categories, we don't want to have to think outside the box.
Right.
So when I said that my dad went after credit insurance companies, we basically took a credit insurance. Now, credit insurance is usually purchased for your credit card or your mortgage, where if you incur those for perils, the insurance company will pay your mortgage or credit card payments.
Mm-hmm.
So we took their policy and we went and said, we want to use your policy, but for the divorce market, you just have to adjust, for whatever the court mandated amounts are. And they said, no, we don't want to get into the divorce market. And there's like, but it's the same risk. It's the same person.
Yeah.
It's like, so we actually hired an actuarial company to show them that it's the same risk. And they still said no. My dad, it frustrated the hell out of my dad. The only way to do it, and this is how we ended up doing it. I'm going to talk insurance jargon just for a second.
Yeah.
You can actually purchase an insurance, you can buy part of an insurance company specifically for your risk. It's called a captive insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, they used to be offshore. Now they're onshore. Now it's a big thing that, people realize that they have an unusual risk that they're willing to fund and that they can buy reinsurance if the claims exceed a certain amount. So that's a captive. And that's who reached out to me. I started the association. And shortly after that, a friend of mine who's been part of this journey with me called and said, did you ever place the insurance? I said, no. And he said, I have somebody I want you to talk to. Happened to be a 70-year-old underwriter. And those are the original risk takers. And he got on the phone with me and said, what do you have? We're looking for something real niche-y because we have only 3 things in our captive. I shared it with him. I sent him the reports, the policy, actuary, all that kind of stuff. And he called 2 weeks later and said, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I said. I don't have the money to fund your captive. He said, don't worry about it. We got more than enough reserves. We're good to go. We're going to PT Prudential, which is a part of the Prudential Insurance Company, is going to go ahead and fully reinsure the product for you. We're good to go. And I remember looking up at my dad going, oh, my God, I think I just got this done.
Isn't that great? I mean, I think that is, I always say to people in business, because I help women as well in business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and it's just
right.
When you find the right person,
yeah.
and please stop trying to sell something to the wrong person, because
right.
It's like, if they don't see the value in it, and same thing in marriage, right? Like, how many times can you try to convince them of your value and they're like, nope, I don't see you're valuable. I'm like, okay, next. Like,
yeah.
I just, it's the same thing with business. And I love that you were just persistent and were able and open and just kept putting it out there and keeping your dad's dream alive to be able to help this sector.
It was both of ours. I mean, I was so passionate about opening up the association because I saw what AARP is doing. I wanted to be able to do the same thing for our group of people. And I wanted to build that voice for these kids.
Yeah.
My dad just wanted to put the insurance product together because he liked the idea. My idea was much bigger.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that we argued about this a lot. I said the association in itself is going to be desirable for the public. And he said, yes, but this Support Insured is going to be what drives people to it. I'm like, nope. I think the association can stand on its own. And what we're finding is that more people are like, hey, this Support Insured product is pretty cool. Can we also become a member? Well, you automatically become a member when you take it out. So I have interest from people who want to join the association because of all the great products and resources that we have. And then I've got people that want to buy the insurance and they get the membership with it.
Okay, so I have had this come to me several times to
Yeah.
ask you this. Tell us a little bit more about the association. What are the benefits for being a part of it? What is it that when people are part, like you said, AARP, right?
Yeah.
You've kind of set it up the same way.
Yeah.
But explain to us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So AARP provides product, services, support, and resources for people who are 55 plus. We do the exact same thing, but for people who are getting a divorce or have a single family. So
Okay.
products such as our top products, of course, are 3 free mental health care sessions because people need to see a therapist or
Yes.
their kids need to see a therapist when they're in the process of getting a divorce.
Mhm.
Eventually, those 3 free benefits are going to go to 8 free benefits per condition. I just need a few more members to get to that point, but it'll be so if you have, say, depression and anxiety, you could get 16 free mental health care sessions.
Mhm.
Right now, it's 3 free mental health care sessions and discounted sessions thereafter. Everybody gets that.
Mhm.
The second thing, career services. So if you're an at-home parent and you suddenly have to re-enter the job force, you probably have this gap in your resume because you've been an at-home
Yeah,
parent.
absolutely.
How do you fill that gap?
Yeah.
Well, we have 25 videos on our career services side that shows you not only how to do that, but how to update your resume, get back on LinkedIn, how to get in front of a recruiter, how to job search, how to figure out what it is you want to do. And if you still say, hey, I don't know what I want to do, we have one-on-one counseling that'll give you a 25% discount to work with you. And I use that company because my husband was a police officer when I met him,
Mhm.
hated the job, didn't know what he wanted to do. I sent him over to this company. They worked with him for 3 months, came back, and he turned into a fashion designer. So I love telling the story because to go from being a police officer and being told you get a paycheck every week to literally transitioning to a creative career where you don't know where your next paycheck is coming, but you love what you're doing, really takes a lot of work. So if this company can figure that out for him, I'm in, right?
Well, that is something. I mean, I talk about this all the time on the podcast. It's 44%. The statistic is 44% of women coming out of divorce end up in financial poverty,
Yes.
and there's multiple reasons for that. I think, but I love that you are providing resources and ability for them to go. Okay, I'm
Yep.
now at this new chapter in my life. How can I become independent? Because instead of having to continue to rely, you've got the insurance, right? In
Right.
case something happens, but how do we rebuild your life from this point on so that you can have your own financial independence,
Exactly.
whether it's a
So
job or whether it's a business? I'm all for business, but that's just me. But
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
You might need to sell your home.
yeah,
So you could
right.
reach out to a realtor or you could reach out to one of our realtors. We'll source them for you. And then
Hmm.
we're going to give you 25% of that realtor's commission back towards your closing costs.
Hmm.
So if you have a $500,000 house, you could potentially be looking at a $4,500 credit towards your
Right.
closing costs, which is amazing.
Yeah.
No realtors working directly with you can do that. We can
Yeah.
do that as a benefit to our members. And then we have early childhood education discounts for La Petite Academy, UGRO, Montessori's, where you get priority enrollment, you get a discount on the enrollment fee, and that's expanding as we speak. Discounts for diapers, formulas, computer supplies, school supplies. What was the other one we have a 24/7 nurse and doctor hotline. So if you don't have insurance, and
Mm.
God forbid you or your kid get sick in the middle of the night, you can reach out and you will be able to talk to a physician who can prescribe something for that child or for yourself without having to go to an urgent care center.
Wow.
If they need medical supplies, we have discounts for medical supplies as well. I call it the Costco effect. The bigger we get, the more things we're able to add, the
Yeah.
more retailers are going to want to come to us and say, hey, put us on your list. We want to be able to provide your members with a credit. That's where we're planning on growing. And then people keep coming to us with different things like, can you get to, how about a wedding registry, a divorce registry? And I thought, that's brilliant. So now we have a fresh start registry on there that when you get divorced, you need everything. Why not tell your friends what they can buy for you when you start your new life out? And
Right.
it's right there for them to go. Another one came to us and said, my husband controls all the money and I don't have money to hire an attorney. So we worked with them on that, but I realized, why don't we put together a credit card that's, say, like Care Credit? And I don't know if you've heard of Care Credit, but they only cover for cosmetic surgery and pet care. So,
And what
and
was
it's
the
done
second
by,
one? Sorry.
they pay for cosmetic surgery
Uh-huh.
and pet care. That's all
Pet
you can
care.
use the
Okay.
credit card for. And it's done by Synchrony Bank. So I want to be able to put together a credit card with a $10,000 limit that can only be used for legal fees, mediation services, and court costs. So that if that person says, I have no money, they can go ahead and apply for the credit card, have a $10,000 limit, hire that attorney, because typically once you hire that attorney, those attorney fees are going to be paid for by the other party. So
Right.
it's just getting into that original attorney fee that we're trying to help with.
Yeah, and people don't understand that either, too. I mean, most of my divorce, I'm going to mention that again, just so people really, really hear that, is, when I went through my second divorce, he ended up spending over $150,000 fighting me in a court case for 3.5 years. We were together less than 2 years.
Wow.
And I was out of pocket very little, probably less than $1,000 of my own money. And mainly it was because I was able to ask for, because of the situation, I was able to ask for attorney fees, and people don't realize that. And I love what you just said is, here's $10,000 to get you started.
Yep.
And then that attorney can ask for the fees from the other side if you're the one that's disadvantaged.
Yep.
Now, you can't guarantee anything because, obviously it is, the court, and there's different judges, and there's different attorneys, but at least it gives you, an opportunity to get on your feet, and there's resources out there that you didn't even have any. That is fantastic idea.
And
honestly,
all of this, including the resources for divorce coaches and mediators and attorneys throughout the country. And there's so many different coaches out there. There's a pet coach to help, with the family pet, to figure out how to distribute that. There's somebody for college education. I mean, there's so many resources out there that people don't know about, and that it would take you days to look on Google for. We have them under our resource page. And all of this, all the product services, and I haven't even mentioned all of them, it's only $19 a month.
Yeah, and first of all, and you probably have some kind of a vetting system, right? So it's not that, it's not like you're just taking a shot in the dark with a different coach or whatever out there. You can be a part of an association. $19 a month.
That's it. That's not for the insurance, but that is for the membership. And all of that
I totally get that. Yeah.
If somebody said $19 for the insurance, I'm like, no.
No. Yeah. No, it's a little bit more than that. But
correct.
But the fact that it's there,
right,
and the fact that there is a beginning period and an end period to that, so that you can insure during that, absolutely fabulous, Ron.
Yep.
I mean, like, seriously, I'm not joking. I mean, granted, I'm not in that position anymore, but I hope people would reach out to you, get information about it, tell their friends and family. I have found, and I say this a lot on this podcast, is I have found that it's not necessarily the people going through the divorce that find this podcast. It's usually family or friends that are like, hey, you need to watch this,
Right.
So if you're one of those people that you're a family or friend and you know someone that's going through it, like, send them this episode, send them to Ron, and have them reach out, because and I'm excited. I mean, I'm connected to a lot of these support groups in divorce, and I'm excited to connect you with those and get you collaborations with them, so that they know that this is available, so that they can get the word out for you. So I know you're going on a couple of shows in LA. You said some TV shows to get it out there.
Yep.
And so thank you for what you're doing. And I know, so please reach out. His website's right there. You also have the show notes down at the very bottom. Let me ask you one last question. And I love this question that I always ask at the end of my podcasts, because it is something that is near and dear to my heart. And obviously it's a great soundbite, but I love to hear people's authentic answers. And by the way, I never tell my guests what it is before the show. Not a trick question, but what does divorcing strong mean to you?
That's a great question. I think it's a process of restarting your life. So I always say, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because without discomfort, you can't grow. Getting a divorce is going to be one of the most uncomfortable things you ever have to do. Not the most uncomfortable, but one of the most uncomfortable things you'll have to do in your life. Divorcing strong means that you've been not only able to break away from that toxic relationship or that partner that you no longer love or care for or want to be with, and be able to build a stronger foundation for yourself, where you're not repeating the same mistakes, where you're not dating the same person that you just left, but you've learned from that relationship and you say, I need something better. I want something more for myself. And you come out of it as a stronger and happier person. I know for myself that when I had my undivorce of 14 years, it was horrible. It was a horrible situation when I came out of it, but it was also my biggest learning curve, because I not only got my financial situation together, I really sat down and tried to figure out what I wanted in my next partner. And it didn't look like what I was used to. It wasn't what I was brought up with. It wasn't what my last partner was, but I did a lot of journaling, and I had a lot of clarity as to what I wanted. And when I would go on dates, I actually had an interview process. The other party didn't know they were being interviewed, but I was so secure in knowing what I wanted. And the minute I met my husband, I could tell within the first 20 minutes of talking to him that that was the person I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been with him for 16 years. I've never been happier. I'm loved unconditionally versus being loved conditionally like I was before. It's okay if I screw up, because I acknowledge my screw ups and I apologize, and he accepts it, and vice versa. So, but that took a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that's what I call divorcing strong, is when you do the hard work after you break up from your divorce, so that you don't repeat the mistakes, and that your life looks better afterwards, and you're making better choices.
Oh, I love that, because it is really, really true. And I was actually talking to somebody today that I met at a conference several months ago for attorneys. And I reached out to her because I know that she's recently gone through a really difficult divorce. And she's just like, oh, Becky, I see how happy you are in your marriage now. And I'm like, honey, it is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's worth being in a relationship that is a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you said that. Is like, look, let's get you through this period of time in your life so that you can rebuild your chapter. I know I say that a lot to people, but it really is true. If I would have known that I would have had the life that I have now, and with my now amazing husband, if I knew that was coming back then, I probably, I'd be a little more hopeful.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I didn't know. And
the funny part is that somebody had said to me, don't date anybody for 5 years. And I thought, are you kidding me? And then I immediately went out and started dating somebody. And I remember being about like a month into it going, there's something odd about this person.
Yeah.
They're very familiar to me. It was because it was the same personality in a different body. Yeah, I hadn't given my time that I needed to figure out what I didn't want and what I needed. And I went right back into the same relationship that I had just left. But the person looked different.
I know. Ron, I used to do dating coaching after my first divorce. I was single for 8 years, and I even wrote programs on dating up, and I worked for a dating site, and I interviewed people from all over the place, and they all say don't go into one marriage to another. And my now husband was only divorced for 6 weeks out of 27.5-year marriage.
Wow.
And I remember the first day I talked to him, I was like, oh, no.
You haven't done your time yet.
Yeah, you haven't done your time. That's exactly right. But we ended up married 3.5 or 4 months later after we met. And granted, we're all still on our journey of healing and all of that stuff. But I say normally don't do that. Just don't. Right. However, it worked for us. And a girlfriend of mine the other day that's been single for many, many years, she's just like, Becky, I wish I could find a husband like yours. And I was like, she goes, but I don't date anybody until they've been divorced for a year. And I said, well, you would have missed my husband. Right. Sorry. Exactly. I mean, you just have to trust yourself and be whatever's right for you. However, I do recommend that you do take the time to heal and to move forward that way. But so again, thank you so much, Ron, for your time today. Thank you for reaching out to me. And I look forward to the collaboration. I really am very, very grateful. And I love that you're very niched in this industry, because sometimes you get lost in a lot of things, but I love that you've forged through it. And this has been a vision for a long time, and you've been persistent. And now you're here and you're like, okay, guys, I'm here to help and serve.
Bring them. I need members. Bring members.
I know. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to do my due diligence to help you get out there and connected with other people that can get you a platform as well. So very, very much. Thank you so much for what you do. And make sure you reach out to him, go to his website, go to the questionnaire. All the contact information is down at the very bottom. And hold on just one second, Ron, and I'll be right back. So thank you, everyone, for joining us another episode of Divorcing Strong. This has been amazing. I love when I find really great resources and great people. I am very sensitive to being through what I've been through in my life, to look for the givers versus the takers. And I'm grateful when I find more and more givers, because I'm like, I truly believe this has been one of my mottos that I've had is serve hard and sell easy. And that's what I feel that this has been today, is sharing a service for you that, you can see that this has been a long journey to getting this product and services out to you. And please, if it's something that calls to you, or someone going through divorce, reach out to Ron and see how he can help you. All right. Thanks you guys so much for joining us on another episode of Divorcing Strong, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.